Hello everyone, thanks for dropping by. That's Helen Slater on the screen, and to me she's the only one I've ever known as Supergirl. That, despite the Supergirl character being portrayed several times in movies, with the latest one with Millie Alcock. As Superman for me is also George Reeve from the 1950s TV series that was filmed in black and white. Helen there is about the same age as me now. She was 18 when she did the Supergirl movie, so that gives you an idea how long ago it was. And the obvious question, would I date Helen there if I was super wealthy and our orbits crossed? Nope. She's about 2 inches taller than me, and that's before she's even wearing heels. So, as before, it would be interesting to see what she looks like in real life, but when it comes to dating these actresses, if they're all taller than me, then I just really wouldn't bother because, as you know, women always prefer guys who are much taller than them. Anyway, enough about Helen. As you know, the Tennessee did a bill about 3 years ago to determine the paternity and have a mandatory paternity test for all newborn babies. So, as it's been 3 years, I thought I'd had a look around, and I found quite a lot of stuff. I'd have to whittle it down, but it's a bit eye-opening, some of the things I've found. The first I found was this. As you can see, it's Reuters, and this was done on September the 13th, 2023, and updated on the September the 13th, 2023. Oh, it's same time. Anyway, as you can read, there's no law requires DNA testing for established paternity in America. It says there's no state or federal law that requires DNA testing to establish paternity in the United States, despite online posts that claim various states have implemented new laws mandating that fathers submit a DNA test before signing a birth certificate. And it just tells you about it, but you scroll down to the bottom. No states have implemented laws in your state paternity testing. The article was posted at Reuters Fact Checker. Now, that is linked with this. This was done on the December the 22nd, 2025, about 18 months or so after this article. The US did not impose mandatory DNA testing before discharge from hospital starting 1st of January. This was obviously by a tweet. There's no such thing. Did the US approve a law to a policy mandating that all hospital patients receive DNA testing before going home? No, that's not true. There are no actual news reports about such a policy or law. Answering link service questions, a major US hospital refuted that claim too. And if you scroll down, the David Sampson, Archive Senior Director of Media Relations at UCLA Health, told Lee Stories that the claim via email on 21st of October 2025. We have found no credible evidence or verified information to support that claim. In fact, similar claims have previously circulated on social media over the years and never been verified. And then searches through Google News, Yahoo News did not yield any remotely similar to what was asserted on social media platforms. In fact, that showed that FactCheck debunked a similar claim about Ghana. And in America, another version of the claim discussing mandatory DNA testing for newborns circulated in 2023. I would imagine that in relation to the Tennessee law. It described the purported requirements of a state-level measure to establish biological paternity. While lawmakers in several states attempted to introduce such bills, that would be in Tennessee and Ohio, they did not become laws or archives here at the time. and then yada yada yada. The newborn screening is just used after birth to identify genetic disorders that can be treated early in life, not to establish the paternity. Now, there's a lot of paternity fraud going on in my country here in Britain, because I found this. So any of you who are listening to this and watching this video are British, this could be related to you. The paternity fraud statistics are here in 2026. Key takeaways: paternity fraud rates in Britain vary according to studies from 1 to 30%, a median global rate of 3.7%. Child support agency DNA. The child support agency is the British equivalent to the American one, which determines how much money a man pays for child support. Revealed that 90% of men tested are not biological fathers, with rates consistently between 10.6 and 16.4 in preceding years. So paternity fraud is quite a serious matter here in Britain. At least 10% of children may be affected by paternal discrepancies, potentially translating to millions of affected individuals. And then we have the global paternity fraud prevalence in UK context. Global paternity discrepancies range from 0.8 to 30%, with a median average 3.7%. And then child support DNA testing. The DNA testing reveals that 90% of men here tested were not biological fathers of the children they were supporting. Preceding years showed consistent rates of 10.6 to 16.4%. And then the international comparison: Nigeria 30% average paternity fraud rate, Jamaica 34.6 average. The British survey is 10% as covered in that. And then we have the birth certificates for Britain, divorce, and all the rest of it. The at-home DNA marking growth. A global home test DNA test is valued at $333 million US in 2024, projected to reach $348 million US in 2025, and to reach 348 by 2025, 452 million by 2032. And their market drivers: increasing consumer awareness of genetic testing benefits, growing interest in personalized medical and preventive health care, and yada yada yada. And you can see it's quite a long piece. And to back this up with the statistics, I found this: paternity fraud statistics. It says recent figures show a sharp rise in paternity fraud claims in 2025, but the most unsettling part is how often ordinary assumptions about biological certainty fall apart. The page pulls statistics up from one place, and you can see the rest concentrates on where the fallout hits beyond the courtroom. So if you scroll down, in America, paternity test establishment percentage reached 94.3% for children born to unmarried parents in 2021. Approximately 1.5 million children in the US had their paternity established through child support program. And in France, it is illegal to perform a paternity test without a court order, punishable by up to a year in prison. But the French men are getting it home tests from beyond the French border. South Korea: the use of DNA testing for family reunification after the Korean War revealed thousands of misattributed percentage cases. India indicated that paternity tests are becoming a common requirement in dowry and divorce litigation. And in the US state of Missouri, reported only 65% paternity establishment for children born to single mothers. So something's going on in Missouri. and the Irish Department of Social Protection showed a 10% increase in paternity disputes over the last decade. And in Israel, Jewish law significantly influenced the legal repercussions of frequency of paternity testing. Israel is the canary in the coal mine, and the number of children born outside marriage in America has stabilized at approximately 40% of all births. So you could say that a percentage of that 40% are single mothers, and they want guys to take on another man's child. And China's one-child policy led to a spike in paternity testing used to avoid fines for illegal births. So even China's having that problem. Bogota in Colombia, the non-paternity rates are 10% among low-income groups compared to 33% in high-income groups. So it doesn't really matter what income groups are. The woman will sleep around and she try and pass another man's baby off as yours. And this bit was interesting. In Japan, still presumes a child born within 300 days of divorce is the former husband regardless of biology. So MGTOW in Japan could start to grow on that thing alone. Ghana's Legal Aid Commission reports an increased men seek paternity tests before paying naming ceremonial fees. And 2% of the world's population estimated to be living with a father who is unaware and is not the biological parent. And then on. There's the other one that caught my eye. Here in Britain, indicates 16% of cases are contested in 2004. A study in Australia found that 1 in 4 men who requested a private paternity test were not the biological father. So 25% of babies born in Australia, they've been fathered by men other than the man that the woman was supposed to be in a relationship with. Data from a major US laboratory shows that nearly 30% of paternity tests ordered for legal purposes result in exclusions. And the Flemish, 500 years ago, extra pair paternity rate only 0.9 per generation, so it goes back several hundred years. And in Ohio, 27% of men who contested paternity in court were excluded as fathers. So there's something been going on in Ohio. French studies involve genetic markers estimate non-paternity rate in the general population of 2.8%. And German study group found non-paternity rate of 1.4% in the general population. In Canada, this was interesting. From legal clerics report that 15 to 20% of men disputing child report are found not to be the father. And their laboratory in Mexico found 25% of men seeking paternity tests are excluded from biological fatherhood. And Brazil, 30% exclusion rate. And Switzerland, 0.8% blood samples, so it's been going on in Switzerland as well. And then about the Tennessee bill allows a man to de-establish paternity if DNA evidence proves he is not the biological father. In Georgia, the man has 60 days, and Florida provide a legal path for men to terminate child support if they discover they're not the biological father. Ohio, a court granted relief for child support order if genetic testing excludes paternity. And in California, you've got a 2-year window, but that is 2 years from the time of the child being born. And Texas allows the termination of the parent-child relationship based on mistake of fact regarding paternity. And in the UK, child maintenance must be refunded payments if paternity is dissolved, so at least the guy get his money back, or some of his money back. Some US states require a man to pay child support even if the DNA proves he is not the father if he has acted as a paternal role. And then Michigan, you got a 3-year clock ticking. Administration in Alabama. The law allows us Rule 60 motion to set aside paternity judgments based on fraud. In New York, often involves equitable and stop it, prevent a man from denying paternity if the child is older. And then Indiana, 60-day, the cost of private legal US testing is $100 to $200. I've covered that before. And if you go through the course, it's $300 to $500. Then Maryland, and on and on and on. I'll naturally put all these links below, but it's quite eye-opening. This is. I found another one similar, paternity fraud statistics. 1 in 17 men, or 5.9%, believe the child they helped raise was not biologically theirs. And the fallout can be immediate in work, finances, and mental health. It's similar to the previous article, but this bit took my eye. A 2020 survey by Family Circle magazine found that 61% of women believe men should just accept paternity even if they are not the biological parent, while 73% of men disagree. And then report that 40% of states lack clear guidance of handling paternity fraud cases, leading to inconsistent enforcement and outcomes. And whoops, where is it? This one, the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy reports that 20 to 30% of divorce cases involve claims of paternity fraud, with 10 to 15% resulting in legal action. So that's only half the divorce cases in legal action. And a 29 study of reproductive health found that 12% of North American men are not genetically related to their children, the highest rates in younger fathers, 18 to 25 years old, 18%. And then it's similar to the other one, lots of statistics and emotional impacts. Quite an eye-opening read going through this. As you can see, masses and masses and masses of stuff. Anyway, in support of that, I found this on Reddit. This is the Pillsbury data. This is mandatory testing. A red pill dream almost became the reality in one state. And this involves the law passed in Tennessee. It says, Parkinson passed a separate bill in 2022, that's the African American who started that ball rolling. HB 2699 did not remove a 5-year statute of limitations to challenge an acknowledgement of paternity on the basis of fraud, duress, or mistake. And then we have the discussion, down, lots of stuff. Take you a while to read through that. Did with me. And I found, and if any of you in America are living in California, I found this for you. This is the paternity law for California 2026, i.e. the law as it stands concerning paternity. So at least it'll give you an idea where you stand. If you read through it, it gives you all the data of information and the legal implications and the explanation of everything. I think I'm on getting 20 minutes now, so I'll have to wrap things up. But I just found this to finish it up. As you can see, I asked, is the US government worried about the level of paternity fraud in 2026? And it says, the US government does not classify paternity fraud as a systematic or growing concern, and there are no federal initiatives tracking or or combating it. Misdistributed paternity instead is handled at a local civil and family law matter governed by individual state statutes regarding child support and paternity establishment. Now, if you scroll down, what is the rate of paternity fraud in America? The true rate of false and misattributed paternity in the general US population is estimated to be between 1% and 3.7%. However, among men who are proactively under DNA tests due to existing doubts or relationship issues, the rate of exclusion jumps significantly between 17 and 30%. Now, if you click on that, it'll take you to the article about it, why 1 in 100 dads are discovering their children aren't biologically theirs. So it's a growing storm, not just in America, but all over the world. Even though no federal law is involved, the American legal system seems to be each state has its own government, and it's up to each state to oversee if they're going to implement it or not, with the federal government overseeing all of them. Not being American, I don't really know how the American legal system works in the political sphere, but apparently there's no mandatory testing as yet. It's a big problem in my country, and as you see in this, it's all over the world, and there's lots of crazy things going on, and this is another thing that shows you the whole scale of the problem. And it's going on to social media, so it's well in the public sphere, and California gives you access the 2-year deadline, but from 2 years from when the child is born, so even if the guy doesn't know the clock is ticking down, the woman certainly will. And as you can see on this, the US government doesn't take it seriously as yet, but it's going to be a storm brewing, and we're in for some interesting times, because, as it says, 1 in 17 men, or 5%, believe the child they helped raise was not biologically theirs, and that's only what you know about. Anyway, I'm on 20 minutes now, so I'll have to wrap it up. You know the routine, people. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that. It's completely up to you. I'll see if I can find anything more on this for next week, but as I said, there's a storm coming with paternity, so it seems the safest thing that a man could do is to just go the monk mode, and if you want to have sex, there's plenty of escorts there, but then again, if you're not careful with an escort, you could get an STD, so it's up to the men. I personally would recommend not even bothering. Go completely monk mode, and that way you'll be safe, even though the chance you probably won't have a family, but it's up to you. Anyway, till next Monday, that's it from me. Bye bye.